Carl, this is Pete Gluzak. Welcome to Ike Live.
Hey guys, good to good to be here. That's awesome. Thanks for having me on. It's cool.
Oh, man, we're so excited to talk to you. For those of you that don't know, Carl is from Australia. He's the first ever competitor in the Bassmaster Elite Series, really, I think, in any professional tournament series from Australia, and coming fresh off a top 12 finish at Guntersville is amazing.
Wow.
Hey, congratulations, man.
Thank you. It was a insane week.
How was that, being here on the Elites, making your first top 12? How's that feel?
It was pretty hard to explain because it's just so it just seems like a dream, you know. I've been dreaming about that exact situation since I was 15 years old, and to actually be living something that you've worked almost your whole life for is a weird kind of thing. But I've imagined it and dreamt about it and relived it in my head so much that it actually felt natural when I was actually there doing it. It was I soaked up every little second of it, and I really didn't want that week to end. It was a biggest and most special week in my entire life.
Well, you were a crowd favorite. I mean, I found myself pulling for you, and it was pretty cool to see. But you said since you were 15. Now here you are. You're living in Australia, I imagine, at 15 years old. And is that how you got introduced to the Bassmasters? I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah, so we used to have Bassmasters play on ESPN back in Australia. So I grew up watching Van Dam and you know the way he fished, and I learned, you know, I bought Kevin Van Dam's spinnerbait tips DVDs, and we don't have largemouth or smallmouth in Australia. And what happened was a guy, Steve Morgan, he owns it's called Australian Bass Tournaments, and he came to America, I think, in 98, I think, and he watched some of the Bassmaster tournaments, and he came back to Australia and almost replicated and made a little bit different, but started almost like a Bassmaster in Australia for our bass. And it got really popular very fast. And in 2001, it started in 99. In 2001, I fished my first event as a co-angler, a non-boater. And, you know, and it grew from there. And, you know, we kind of, Australia almost mimics a little bit of like America. When America does something big, you know, when a technique or something would come out in America, we would do it in Australia. And we're also good innovators as well, because our fish are a lot different, but the same as well. Like they eat some of the same techniques, but very more finesse approach. And yeah, so I grew up, you know, with Kevin Van Dam and being my hero, and Iaconelli and all that, and since I was, and what happened was for our, like, what we call it a grand final, but our Bassmaster Classic, the prize was an expenses paid trip to go to America and fish a tournament of your choice. And so when that came, I thought that I made that was my lifelong dream. I wanted to come to America and compete, and it took me 10 years. I fished every single ABT tournament every single year for 10 years straight. And I think when I started being a pro at 17, in points wise, like bass fan style points, I was the number one angler for 10 years. And then I won Angler of the Year 2006, 2008 and 2010. And then finally in 2010, I won our Classic and AOY. And then that's when I got the chance to actually come to America and fish.
Wow.
Carl, how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, are you married, Carl? Do you have any children?
I'm not. No. This is. I've lived a pretty solid single life for since I've been here. Because
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that single life because, Carl, you're talking to a bunch of married guys with kids that haven't been relevant in probably about 15 years, together. So
This is true.
we're going to ask you some of that stuff, but let's do some fishing for now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But, yeah. Well, it may have kind of changed in the last couple of weeks. Just so you know.
Do you have someone in the car with you?
No.
right, good.
No. But she's probably listening. She's probably listening.
Damn it.
Come on, dude. We
not
finally get a young, in shape guy, good looking guy on trail, and he's got someone that's listening. We can't even live vicariously through you. Come on, dude. Get Palaniuk on the phone.
You had a great tournament at Guntersville. That was amazing to see. And you talked about people that you admire in the sport. Who were your guys? Like, Ike talks about some of his marquee guys. Like he mentions Brower and Clun. And who are the guys that stand out in your mind that are the key guys in the sport right now?
What was that? Who I stayed with?
Well, no. Who are the key guys that you admire in the sport right now? Who do you think are the best guys in the sport right now in fishing?
Yeah. I admire I admire certain things of different guys, and like Mike, the two things I love about him is his work ethic is ridiculous, and I try and mirror him. And if I can outwork Iaconelli, then you're going to be the hardest working guy on the tour, because I rate myself as when I get off the water, if Ike's truck's there, I'm getting off too early. And I get off at dark sometimes and his truck's still there. And he, that his work ethic is tenfold on most guys on the tour, and that's what makes him so good. And he has said before that he doesn't think his fishing ability is as good as the others, but he makes up for it in how bad he wants it and how hard he works. And I said on stage that these guys have 30, 40 years experience on me on largemouth that I'll never, ever be able to get back. But so I have to compensate that in how hard I work, how much I want it. I live and breathe it, and that I need to compensate that by what I do. So I love Ike's work ethic, and I love what he does for the fans. And I got to give a little piece back and see a little piece of how it is when I got off stage. I signed autographs, took photos and selfies with 70-year-old grandmas and kids, and signing autographs for like an hour and a half. I just stayed there, and I loved every second of it. And every time I see Ike, he's all about the fans, and that's what I really love about him. A big part of what I want to do is I want my story to get out there, because I do want people to, it doesn't matter what it is, in work or life or business. I just think that, you can do it. You can have what you want. You can create your own, what you want to be. And I've proven that there's just, if I can do what I've done, there's just no excuses for anything. And I think going all in that's what stops people. It's a fear that less like they just don't go all in, because it's that fear of failing or whatever they wanted, whatever they've got. But the fact is that if you just want it and that's what you want, you set your goals at it, you can do it. It doesn't matter what it is.